Hello everyone, my name is Arohi and welcome to my channel. So guys, in my today's video we will learn how to interact with the database using large language models. So we will write a question in English which will then be processed by an LLM model to generate SQL query. Then these SQL queries will retrieve data from the MySQL database and it will show us the result on our screen. This is what we are going to do in our today's class. And how we are going to do that? To accomplish this task, we will use LangChain, and through LangChain, we will use one large language model and a database. So in my today's class, I will show you the demo with MySQL database, but of course you can work with other databases also. Before we begin to create such application, it is important to know why we need this topic. What is the importance of this topic? What kind of applications we can make with this topic? Let me show you few use cases where interacting with database is important. So the first one is you can develop chatbots that can answer questions based on the data which is stored in the database. So let's take an example of customer service chatbot. So imagine a company having a customer support chatbot that assists customers with inquiries. Okay, so customer can ask questions like, what is the status of my order? Or they can ask, can you provide me the details about my recent transactions? So company have all the data related to all the customers in their database. And if company have a chatbot which can interact with the database, then questions like these can be easily answered, right? Now, another example is travel assistance board. Imagine a travel agency deploys a chatbot to provide travel information and booking assistance. Okay, so a user can inquire about the flight availability, hotel reservations, or local attractions. So this chatbot has access to the agency's travel database. When a user will type a question in the chatbot, it translates user question into SQL queries to fetch the current flight schedules or hotel availability or travel activities from the database, right? So this is how they can use it. And then another example is HR assistance board. Imagine an organization uses a chatbot to handle HR related queries from employees. And in this chatbot, employees might ask about company policies or leave balances or upcoming training sessions, right? So this chatbot is connected to the company's HR database. And when employee asks a question, that question will be converted into SQL query. And then it will retrieve the information such as policy details or leave records or training schedules from the database. So this bot can deliver accurate responses to employees promptly. This is the first use case where we are interacting with the database. Now, the next use case is building custom dashboards. User can design dashboards to display insights specific to their needs and preferences, right? For example, sales manager can create a dashboard that shows real-time sales figure by region or performance of different products category, right? So here the data which is used to display this real-time sales region-wise or the performance of different product category, we are getting this data from the database and then we are visualizing that data in a dashboard. So this is the second use case. Now, what else can we do by interacting with database? So we can create an app which can translate our natural language questions like the questions which we ask in English directly to the SQL queries. For example, user asks which product has the highest sale last month, and then our app can generate the corresponding SQL query to fetch and display this data. Okay, so these kind of apps we can create if we learn how to interact with database using LangChain. So now let's start. Let's see how to build such applications. First, we are building a question answering system which will interact with your database and will answer your queries. But before moving to the coding part, let's set up the environment. So I'm running my today's code on Anaconda and I've created a separate environment. Let me show you step by step how to create and activate the environment and how to install all the required modules. Open Anaconda prompt And here first we will create an separate environment, and in that environment we will install all the requirements. Like this you can create your separate environment. I'm not executing this command because I have already performed all these steps. So you'll write conda create -n, and this is the environment name, and I want to create this environment using Python 3.10. Then you'll hit enter and you will have an environment. So once you have this, next step is to activate the environment. How we activate the environment? We write conda activate and then you write the environment name. Our environment is activated. Next step is to install all the required packages. So guys, I have all the packages which we need for our today's tutorial in requirements.txt file. Let me show you where that file is. This is the folder where our code is. So the whatever code we are going to execute today, everything is available over here, and here you'll see the requirements.txt file. Just open this requirement.txt file here. So these are the all requirements we need. And these requirements are present in this folder. So next step is to cd to that folder. So that folder is in, so here is the folder. Next step is to install requirement, but before installing requirement, let's upgrade the pip package manager. And how we do that? We write python -m pip install upgrade pip, okay, and hit enter. This will upgrade the pip package manager. Now we will run pip install -r requirements.txt and hit enter. And when you'll hit enter, all the modules which are present in this file, all those modules will be installed one by one. So your environment is ready now. Now let's go back to the folder where our code is. Here you know about requirements now. Then here you'll see one Jupyter notebook and one this py file. So these are the two different applications which we are going to build today. First I'll show you the Jupyter notebook. First we will understand the code which is there in the Jupyter notebook, and after that we will understand the code which is there in this my app 2.py file. Okay, so let's open a Jupyter notebook, and to open a Jupyter notebook you will write Jupyter notebook. This is the Jupyter notebook. Let's open it. First we are importing this Google generative AI module from this module. Why we need this module? Why we are importing this? Because whenever you want to use any LLM from Google, then you need this module. So for our today's class we are using Gemini Pro model, which is a LLM by Google, and if you want to use LLM which is by Google, then you need this module, okay? And then this load_.env. Why we are using this package? This package will help us to load the environment variables. Now what are environment variable? Why we need it? Environment variable means we want to use Google's LLM. But to use this LLM, you need one API key, okay? So that API key we have stored in one environment variable, and let me show you where that environment variable is. See, we have this .env file. Let's open this .env file, and here. So Google API key, this is the environment variable, and in this variable we have stored our API key. Guys, this key will not work. This is the wrong key. So you need to generate your own API key. And how you can do that? Let me show you that. To generate your own API key, you will log into your Gmail account, and then you'll go to this link, and here see, get an API key. Click on it, and then click on the create API key. You will get the API key, and then you have to save that API key somewhere because we want to use it. Just save that API key, then copy that API key and paste that key over here. Okay, so this is how you'll get your API key. Next step is, Here we are importing Google Generative AI from LangChain Google Gen AI. So we need this because the LLM which we are going to use today is Gemini Pro, and that LLM is from Google. If you want to know more about this LLM, then you can check this link. I have mentioned the link of this page in description section, and this is Gemini Pro model, LLM model by Google, and we are using this model today. And for that we are providing our API key over here, and this API key is mentioned in this environment file .env file. So in this cell I'm calling this LLM over here and I'm assigning this task to it. I'm asking this question, and see, this is the reply by our LLM. So that means we have loaded our LLM successfully. Now the next task is to work with SQL databases. So for that we need these two modules, SQL database and SQL database chain. And guys, now before moving to this section, before understanding this code, it is important that you have installed MySQL and MySQL Workbench. How to install that? Let me show you that. So from this link you will install the MySQL. I have mentioned the link in description section. Now let me show you the steps, how you will execute all the steps one by one. When you'll click on download, and after that you'll see in your download history that the exe file is getting downloaded, and in downloads you'll get this kind of exe file, and after that installation will start, and you will click on next. You'll see this kind of prompt and you'll click on next. After that, here you will click on execute, and then next. Again you have to click on next and next. Here guys, you need to write the username and the password. Okay, so which username and password? This username and password we will assign here. So when you'll install the MySQL, at that time you provide username and password, which we will use over here. So remember whatever username and password you are using there, so you have to remember that password. And then next, here also click on next, then again click on next, click on execute. When you'll click on execute, you'll see these kind of ticks over here, and then click on finish. Next again, and then finish. Okay, so this is how you install MySQL. Once you install it, so over here you'll write MySQL and you will see MySQL command line prompt like this, and when you'll click on it, you'll see a command prompt, and you have to enter your password over here. Which password? The password which we created few minutes back. And when you'll fill the password, you'll see this kind of screen. You'll see this MySQL over here, and here, just to test if a MySQL is working properly or not, we will write show databases, and this kind of output you'll see. So this means you have installed MySQL successfully. Now the next task is to install MySQL Workbench. To install MySQL Workbench, you'll go to this link. Here you will click on this downloads, and then you will see that the download has started. Then in your downloads you will see the MySQL Workbench. Click on it and then click on next. After that, again here also click on next, and here you will click on this custom and next, and again next, and click on install over here, and installation will start, and click on finish. Okay, so once you're done with that, over here you will write Workbench, and you will see this MySQL Workbench 8.0. When you'll click on it, you'll see this kind of screen. Here you have to click here, and it will ask you to fill the password. Remember the same password which we have created when we installed MySQL. You'll enter that password and click on OK. So after login, you'll see this kind of screen. Now let me show you how to prepare, how to have the database over here with which we are going to interact. So for that, you'll see this folder database folder, open that. You have this file over here. Now what you need to do is just drag this file from here, and drop over here, okay? And then you will execute this query. Just click here, the query will be executed. And when you'll execute this query, on this side you need to refresh, okay? And after refreshing, you'll see this retail sale DB over here. Click on this. Under this, click on tables, and under tables we have one table with the name of sales DB, okay? And if you want to see that table, click on this third icon, and here you can see. So we have how many different columns we have? We have transaction ID, date, customer ID, gender, age, product category, quantity, price per unit, and then total amount. So these are the different values we have under these columns, and we have these columns in which table? Sales underscore TB table, and sales underscore TB table is present in retails underscore sales underscore DB. With these steps, your database is ready now. Now you can use that database from your Jupyter notebook. So how to do that? You'll go to your Jupyter notebook, and in this DB user you will write the username which you have for your database, and here you need to write the password, and here you'll write localhost only, and here you'll write retail sales DB only. In this line, we are connecting with our database. We are connecting our Jupyter notebook with the database, and for that DB user, we are getting the username and password of our database. Then it is a local host. We are providing the database name over here, and then we are just printing this db.table info, and we can see that it is fetching sales underscore TB. This is the table we have, right? And here it is showing some records of that data table, right? So this means we are successfully connected with our database. In the next cell over here, we are creating a chain because we want to convert the question which we have into the SQL query. So first we are importing this module, create SQL query chain. Okay, so from the name only it is clear that with the help of this we can create a chain which will create the SQL query on the basis of the question which we asked. So the input to this SQL query chain is LLM. First parameter is LLM. LLM means which LLM we are using? The Gemini Pro LLM. Okay, so first parameter is LLM, second parameter is database. So this is a chain. In the next line we are just invoking the chain dot invoke. This is how you invoke the chain. Here you will write the question, and this, on the basis of this question you will get a query. Okay, so when we execute this cell, see we have this query over here. And now if you'll see in the starting of this query we have these many single quotes, and in the end also we have these many single quotes. Now in the next cell we are just cleaning that query. And how we are cleaning that? The query is present in this response variable. We are taking that response variable and we are using strip, and we are stripping, removing this from the starting and this from the end of that query. And when we print that cleaned query, and here you can see we have the query like this. So guys, now why we executed this step, why we are cleaning this query? Because if you'll not clean this query, you will get an error related to some syntax error. Okay, so that's the reason we are performing this functionality. We cleaned the query, and then now we have our query with us. Now we want to see the result which we get after executing this query, and this is how you run db.run and pass the query which you got by LLM. So which query we got? This cleaned query. This query we are passing to db.run, and here you can see the result. Now how do we know if this result is correct or not? Just for that we'll copy this query from here and open your this workbench. Here we'll write the query, this query, and this is the query we want to run, and hit enter and see the result. The result is 29. Number of customers are 29. Next step is, what I want to write this entire code in one function, so that every time whenever I want to ask different questions, I don't want to write this entire code again and again. So I'll create one function now, and inside that function I've written all the code, all the steps which we have performed till now. So this is my function name, and the parameter which we are passing to this function is the question which we want to ask to the LLM, and then we want to convert it into SQL query, and then we want the result on the basis of that query. Okay, so I have this function here. First we are invoking the chain. Invoking means we'll provide our question to the chain. Which chain? The chain which we have over here, this chain. Let me copy from here, let me paste it away here. So this is the chain. First we are invoking this chain on the question, and then we'll get the response. So I'm printing that response over here. After that we are cleaning the SQL query which will get from the query which we'll receive from here. We are cleaning that query. Okay, so we are removing all the single quotes from the beginning and all the single quotes from the end of that query. We have the cleaned query now. Now we want to run that cleaned query in order to fetch the output, in order to get the output on the basis of this query. So for that we are using db.run, and we are passing cleaned query to it, and finally we are fetching the result. Okay, so the result will be the output of that query. Now let's use this function and see how it works. So now this is my question: how many unique customers are there for each product category? And here I'm calling this execute query function. All these functionality we are performing here on this, and when you'll hit enter, so this is the query generated at this step. Okay, so this have these many single quotes in the beginning and single quotes at the end. Now we are cleaning it. So this is our cleaned query, and after that this is the result from our database. So beauty 8, clothing 13, electronics 8. What was our question? How many unique customers are there for each category? So in our database we have these 3 different categories, and for the beauty category there are 8 customers, and for clothing there are 13 customers, and for electronics there are 8 customers. Now again we can copy this query from here, and let's go to the workbench, paste that query, this query, and let's execute it. See, you can see beauty 8 customers, clothing 13 customers, and electronics 8 customers. Now in the same way, now we are taking another variable. Here I have this question: calculate the total sales amount per product category, and then we are calling the execute query function. We are passing the question to it, and when you'll execute it you will get the answer over here. So this is the answer we are getting. What was our query? Calculate the total sales amount per product category. So for electronics this is the sale, for clothing this is the sales, and for beauty this is the sales, right? And if you again want to execute this same query, so this query is generated by our LLM, and once the query is generated, and after that our LLM is running that query and fetching the data from our database, and this is the data fetched from our database. Now if you want to see what kind of results we are getting in over here, so at the place of this let's just write our new query. This is the query, and then click on execute, and here you can see for electronics this is the sales amount, and for clothing and for beauty we have this, right? So this is how you can interact with your database. Again, there are few more questions if you want to see. Calculate the average age of customers grouped by gender. Then this is the query generated by our model, and then this is the output of that query. This is the these are the results based on this query. This is the result our model fetched for us, and in the same way this is the next question. So like this you can interact with your database. So till now what we have learned, we just executed different commands on the Jupyter notebook. Now let's create an Streamlit app where we will perform this kind of functionality. Let me show you the demo of the app first, then we'll see how to code for it. So this is the app. Here we will type a question. So let's say how many customers are there. Okay, and let's click on this execute button. So this is the query generated, and then this is the output. Now let's ask some other question. Ask this question, execute. So this is the query generated. You can copy the query from here, and then this is the output. After first our model is generating a query on the basis of the question which we asked, then our model executed this query in the database and fetched this output for us. So this kind of application we are going to build now, and we built this application with the help of LangChain, and LLM will be Gemini Pro only, and for the web application we are using Streamlit. So now let's see the code of this app. First we are importing all the required modules, and guys, this also is clear to you. DB, user, password, host, and name. These are the same things which we have just discussed in the Jupyter notebook. Here I am connecting with the database, and then here we are initializing that database because we want to use their database, right? So we need to establish a connection with their database. So that's what we are doing over here. And I have commented this part, but if you want to see the table info, then you can uncomment it. And here we are calling the Gemini Pro LLM model, which will take our questions and convert it into SQL queries, and then it will fetch the data from our database, right? And here we are creating a chain. Again, we are providing two parameters to it. First is LLM and second one is database. Here, this is the same function, guys. Remember in the Jupyter notebook, we have created a function which will first run the chain on the question which we'll provide to it, and then it will clean the responses by removing these single quotes from the beginning and the end of the query, and then we will run that and then we want to find out the output which we get on the basis of this query, so that we can do with the help of db.run, and finally we are getting a cleaned query and the result means the output of the query. After we execute the query, the query is getting generated, and then we are fetching the output from the database on the basis of that query. So that's what we have in result, and this is the cleaned query. So we are having two separate variables over here, because using these two different variables, we will show on the Streamlit app our query will be displayed on the Streamlit app using this variable, and the result will be displayed using this variable. Okay, and then st.title will simply provide the title to your Streamlit app. So this is the title, and if you'll see here, this is the title of our Streamlit app. And then here this is just the input box where user will write the question. So here, this is what. So this is the place, this text button, this text input is created like this, st.text input, and we are storing it in a question variable. And if st.button execute, when user will click on this button, execute button, it will first check the question if user mentioned the question over here or not. If question is mentioned, then we are calling the execute query function, this execute query function, and we have a cleaned query and the query result variable, and from this execute query function, these two outputs we are storing in these two variables. Query will be stored over here and the result will be stored over here. And then we are again using another statement that if clean query and query result is not none, then st.write means we want to write it on a Streamlit app. What we want to write it on a Streamlit app? First we want to write this generated SQL query, and under that we want to show the query result, and then we are writing query result, and under that we are putting the query results. Okay, so this is what this app is. Very simple, right? So we have done this code in a Jupyter notebook and now we are running it in a Streamlit app. Let's execute. So generated query, SQL query, this is what we are having, this line, and under this we are having a SQL query. Under this we are having this SQL query. Then next line is query result, this query result, and under that we are having actual query results. So 29. So guys, this is how you can work with your database. This is how you can interact with the database. So I have given the GitHub link in description section. You can get the code from there and then you can try it. So I hope this video is helpful. So guys, if you like my content, please like, share and subscribe my channel. Thank you for watching.